Let's take a look at some network and traffic analysis tools today. Um, and, we're going to use free tools. These are open source tools that are available in Linux, and a lot of them have been ported to Windows. So I've done some of these videos in Linux. I'm going to do this on Windows 7 here just to show you some of the free tools out there. Won't cost you a dime. And the first tool comes from a program, or a packet sniffer tool that used to be called Ethereal. Now it's called Wireshark. And to get it, it's a free download. Open up, go to your favorite search engine, Google or Yahoo. Google's probably better for searching, but I like the news groups and stuff in Yahoo. What doesn't really matter, but you just type in Wireshark and you'll find it. It's a free download. Look for wireshark.org. And here's like a little Wikipedia article. There's all kinds of tutorials and things, but basically, here's the website wireshark.org, and here's a shortcut even to the download page on the second link, wireshark.org download. And boy, running slow today. You can go here and just download the tool. Now I've already done that, so to save time, I'm going to go here. In this folder, I've downloaded Wireshark. So let's go ahead and launch it. I'll say next, and I agree, and next. And I'm going to go with the default installs. It'll also want to install, one of the dependencies is WinPCAP, which works with the Windows TCP/IP stack. And not just Wireshark, but other tools we're going to use like Kane and Able, and free tools and things will make use of WinPCAP. So why don't you go ahead and accept the defaults and let it install WinPCAP too? It needs that. I'll go with the defaults, and I'm going to leave this first example. I'm going to leave my antivirus software on and my firewall activated. But for a good complete scan, well, I've already got. You won't get that the first time, but just go ahead and click on next and install it. So I'm just going to redo it so that it'll be just like you're doing it if you're doing this the first time and you haven't installed WinPCAP. So install WinPCAP and installed Wireshark. And again, I'm going to leave my firewall up and my antivirus software going for this first capture, but depending on what you're doing, if you're attacking or defending or different things, you may also want to temporarily shut down your your firewall, or open up different ports and things to get a more complete or thorough scan of your environment. But for now, I'll just try to stick to the defaults. And what you might see if you're trying this with me, or you're doing this, just starting out and you're beginning at this, I'm by no means, there's people who know a whole lot more about this. I'm sort of a jack of many things and master of none. But we'll just look at some of the basics here. So you've got the tool installed. I'm going to make a little shortcut here. And throw it on the desktop. I like my little icon farm going there. So I want to launch the tool. And when I launch the tool, this is the interface. Nice interface. Just kind of take a peek at some of all these tools. Again, I'm going to try to stick to the basics. But if you're hacking around, any hacker, you like to experiment. Your curiosity is one of those key things that a lot of people have in common, that like to kind of hack around and teach themselves new things. So in your own time, you'll have time to play with some of these other bells and whistles, but let's go over just the basics. So you've installed it, you've installed WinPCAP, you have Wireshark set up, you've got a NIC card. This machine has two physical NIC cards. I've got one disabled and a wireless NIC. I just, USB, and then I have two, I use virtual machines with VMware. So I have two VMs. And but I want to go to capture and select an interface first. So when I do that, notice here's my VMware virtual adapters, but right now I want to select this one, the physical, the Broadcom or Gigabit Ethernet adapter. I'm going to start capturing packets, and sniffing traffic on my network now. So I'm going to click start. And when I do, alright, so notice this is all the traffic going through my network right now. And in this case, where I'm located. And I'm just to make some interesting traffic, I'm gonna hop online real quick and we'll go do something. We'll have Yahoo query banana. We'll use a little layer 2 ARP and layer 3 TCP/IP. We'll do some layer 4 and 5 and DNS name resolution and stuff. So banana, and I'll go to a Wikipedia article, banana. And now I'm going to get my ISP's DNS server to resolve banana.com. just making some traffic to show you some of the filtering and search capabilities in Wireshark that you can use if you're looking for packets that, maybe a certain IP address you're suspicious of, or you're trying to figure out what that person's doing, or what that IP is, if it's safe or not. You can filter and look for different strings and things in Wireshark. So we're just generating that traffic right now. So I'm going to do www. Can't spell banana. Banana. Give me a banana. So here's banana.com. All right. So I'm just resolving a host name there. Okay. So just some interesting traffic. I'll even do a couple of pings here. We'll do a trace route. Let's do a trace route first to, who are we going to do a trace route to? HastaLaVista.com. Let me do. Oops, left off my E there. And let's use some command line tools real quick too to make some interesting traffic. So we'll do that. I'm just going to do like a trace route. We'll curse out here so we'll have some more space. Trace route to www.HastaLaVista.com. And that'll generate some traffic. And there's the IP 8074.154.172. Little security hacker portal. That'll make some traffic. And I won't complete the hops just to save time. I'm going to do Control C, but I'm not going to do like all 15 hops there. And let me just do something else. So I'll do that, and then in addition to the trace route to Hasta La Vista, I will ping. Who should we ping? So do a piratebay.org and a piratebay.com, and we'll do like a Monova. Alright, so I'll just kind of make, so I'll do a Control C, won't do all 4 echo replies. I'll just make some interesting traffic. So, right, we went up here, we click capture interface, now I'm going to click stop. That'll save the capture. If I wanted to, I could do another capture, and it would ask me whether or not I wanted to save the old one. So I could archive multiple captures and save them if I wanted to analyze them later. I'm going to click cancel. I don't want to do that, but alright, so I'm up here now, and I want to use some of the packet searching tools. Oh look, Kathleen Droder's iPad. That's interesting, eh? Let's see what interesting traffic there. Anyway, let's go to the top here, and we'll use some of the packet searching and filtering capabilities built into the software. So I'm going to click on Find Packet, and notice the shortcut keys. If I use these, you won't be able to see me because I'm just doing a screen capture here, but just know that they're listed up here, and you can see Control F, Control N to find next. So I'm going to do a Find Packet, and the first thing I want to look for is let's look for banana, and I'm going to go to string here. All right, we'll do a search. And so I'll click on Find. Okay, and notice what's highlighted in blue there. Alright, so in this case, what's going on? This is 172.17.48.215. Well, let me show you my IP. I'm 172.17.48.215, right? So I'm 172.17.48.215. There's my IP. And what are we doing here? Well, where are we? If you look at this packet here, where are we? We're, in this case, consulting Yahoo, and we're trying to, resolve something here. We're doing a query. So again, I'm gonna hop up here and do Control N, and right here, in this case, if you look at the data payload and just go through some bits and pieces in the packet, there you'll find where I'm actually looking for a banana. All right, I'm gonna go down the next one. There's bananasweb.com standard query, and here's some of the field data broken down into more detail on the packet. But you can see here, in this case, what's going on. And again, let me go up here and do Control N. I mean to highlight all those. We'll go up here and do Control N. Go down here. Okay. So field data. And if I double click on it, I'll bring it up here, open it up in a separate window. And you can look at it. Alright, so destination, this is the firewall that I'm going through. Okay, so it's a sonic wall firewall. Frame information. HTTP was over web, it's to the web browser. Just some of the interesting traffic there. And you can actually look at some of the CRC field data and just different pieces of information. I'm going to go through and look for a few more. There's bananasweb.com. And again, there's 172.17.40. Now this is my IP, and this is, in this case we're doing some local DNS and then out to an ISP and then some ISP DNS and then from a top level DNS server in IANA and bananasweb.com and so forth. And just going through and I'm hitting Control N, going down, you can see Banana. All these are references to all those things I was doing with Banana earlier. Well, there they are. So I could go through and kind of look for interesting traffic, right? And then let's look at a few other interesting pieces of traffic. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to go find a packet. And this time, I could do display filter hex value. I'm going to again look for a string here. And oops, I mean to do that. Bring this back here. And this time I'm going to do, actually I could just do hasta la vista even. We'll just start up here at the top and do hasta la vista. I'm going to do fine. And there where, I'm trying to resolve hasta la vista.com, right? And that was a trace route. So there's some DNS issues, or DNS traffic going on there for name resolution. That was the trace route over multiple hops. And in this case, let's look for, let me go up here and we will look for Pirate Bay. I could even just put in pirate, alright? And there's piratebay.org, and I'll do Control N, go to the next, and there's piratebay.com, piratebay.org. Alright, so just kind of give you an idea of some of the interesting traffic and things that's going on in this particular network. And notice we can reorder these based on time, so we can kind of get a snapshot of what's going on, from 1 second to the next, from as time passes on the network. We could filter this by destination. You could filter it by protocol, address resolution protocol, ARP, DNS, TCP, whatever types of UDP, user datagram protocol. You can look for things like port scans and ping sweeps, and that's what we'll do next. All right, we'll look at signatures and kind of look at how they look inside Wireshark. It's just sort of a basic introduction at this point. We're going to do another capture now. So we won't worry about saving that one, but I'm going to use another tool called Nmap to help me generate interesting traffic. I mean, I could open a command prompt and try to do a ping sweep by hand, but that would take forever, or port scans and things. So this tool's, it's built into a lot of installations of Linux, and there are versions out there that you can download for free from Windows, for Windows as well. So I'm just going to install it real quick, and we'll do another short tutorial just on Nmap for Windows. We did one on Linux. We'll do one for Windows as well. I'm going to play with the beta here that I downloaded. Nothing like playing with the beta, right? And again, this is another tool that, for a lot of these Windows tools, depending on there'll be certain dependencies that you need. So, for like, Wireshark and K-enable and other tools and things, you'll need WinPCAP. And then same thing for Nmap here, and it's already installed, and that's, won't have to worry about that if you were on Linux. But and again, if you're on a Linux machine, then you can see the other Nmap tutorials that I've already done on Linux. We talked about that quite a while ago. So it's a nice little tool for just doing simple things like ping sweeps and port scans and banner grabbing and just IDing operating system fingerprints, things like that. I'll go with the defaults here. If you go that, and it's Nmap, but they call it ZenMap, or it's just a Windows derivative of Nmap with a nice little graphical interface, right? So there's a nice little interface here. I'll bring it up, and I'll bring up Wireshark, and I'm going to start a new capture now So I'm going to say start, and I'm not going to worry about saving. So now I'm capturing traffic, right? So let's see. One of the first things that we'll do. Notice that you can do ping scans and ping sweeps and all kinds of things, and you can just, if you do that, this is just a simple. I can do like a simple scan and start a scan right there. I'm kind of command prompt specific, so I want to use some command prompt tools here. So I'm just going to type in nmap, and then the command I want is going to be S and P, and this will be a ping sweep, and I want to do the network 172.168.0 in this case, and subnetted on the third octet. So I'm going to use the /24 for the third octet. Alright, so now it's just kind of doing a basic ping sweep. Alright, so here are the IPs that have been discovered, where I actually did get some echo replies and some results there. Some of the interesting traffic. So let's see, how does that look? Well, basically, the source address, remember my source address? It's going to be using when we look at this in Ethereal, my source address is what? 172.17.48.215. So let's look at a signature, or how that ping sweep would look in Wireshark. Okay, so I'm going to stop my capture. And let's go up to the top here. I'll go way up to the top. Here's 172.17.48.215. And again, remember who that is. That's me, right? So if we look at these IPs here, notice that the signature, the sequences, is that you're going to see traffic going from my machine 172.17.48.215 to 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 8. Sequentially, it's going to go, from the least to the greatest. And there's all kinds of tricks for stealth scans and things that you can use. But you can use time delays, things like that. But in this case, it's just a simple ping sweep. Looking at the pattern, an intrusion detection system, or IDS, would find that a pretty easy sequence to detect, and that would probably sound an alarm. And we'll do some later videos. We'll play with some different IDSs, things that you can download for free. But in this case, just using the free tool Wireshark and the free tool Nmap doesn't cost us a dime. Let's look at how would that look? How would the sequence of traffic, right? The pattern going from my IP address to sequentially to 1, and then 4, and 5, and 8, and 9, and 14. All right, that's the pattern you're looking for when you look for a simple ping sweep. Not a more complex one. I mean, there's things we could do using a decoy, spoofing an IP, putting a time delay on it, and scrambling it up so that, maybe every 3 minutes I ping a low address like 4, and then I go ping a high address like 148 or 240 or something, and then there's different software has different techniques, to try to generate traffic that's not as easy for an IDS to detect, or to generate an alarm. So, but right now we're just we're kind of doing our jack of all trades, master of none, just for beginners. Let's see what a very simple, basic ping sweep would look like. So, my source IP, right? All this traffic that I generated using Nmap is coming from this IP, and this time I didn't use a decoy, so it's all going to be from 172.17.48 and 215, which is my IP. And so if I start up at the top here, let's see what happens. There's a lot of traffic, notice, coming from back and forth here. So let's look at the source. Matter of fact, I'll come up here and let's do that. Let me go all the way to the top here. And notice on the source, here is let me see here. Alright, there's 215. Once again, just want to verify 172.17.48, 215, right? Alright, so let's look for traffic. And I'm going to go, just kind of go down and find my IP. Alright, so look at this traffic going on here. And here's all the source traffic. So this is what I was doing with Nmap from 172.17.48, 215. See if you can recognize a pattern in this traffic. Alright, so coming down here, this is some basic traffic going on. 5 DNS, that's normal. Everybody on this network is going to be communicating with 5 and 1 gateway, 5 DNS. But then come down here, and you'll start to see a pattern or a sequence of things, right? That's DNS and some name resolution. I'm going to scroll down some more. There's 15. And then here, all right, and now let's do destination traffic here. So going to 15, we're going to go down and look for a pattern in the source column. And you see all of this traffic here. So let me go back up here and let's do the info. I'm going to go over here and select info over here. Alright, and then notice here who has 53. Tell 152, 17, 48, 4, 48, 5, 33, 81, 80. Alright, but look at this. Who has 48, 9? Who has, you know, in sequencer 89, 88, 87, 86, 85, 84, 83. So I'm enumerating here. There's 7, 7, 9, 7, 8, 7, 7, 7, 6, 7, 5, 7, 4, 7, 3, 7, 7, 1. And notice the culprit, I'm not using a decoy right now, so it's pretty blatant that I'm the offender. You know, I'm the person here that's, you know, doing some bad, naughty things on this network because look at my IP. It's just, you know, showing up 215, 215, 215 all the way down. Because I'm, you know, but do you recognize the pattern? Do you see the pattern here? That's what I want you to look at, or that's what I want you to try to grow accustomed to. It's not always, you know, from A to Z or 1 to 9 or whatever, but you'll see that that's a recognizable pattern of a ping sweep, right? It's constant address resolution protocol or ARP queries, you know, pings over ICMP, request and echo replies from my Windows 7 machine to all, you know, any machine on the network that has an IP, and it's just trying to build a list of IPs, valid IPs that will respond, or, you know, what we would call an enumeration there. And again, you can, you know, I'm kind of stick out like a sore thumb. You know, even a bad IDS system, you know, would be able to detect that pretty easily and flag an alarm there. I'm just scrolling through, but if you want to, you're watching this on YouTube, you can just hit pause and go through it. And there's a lot more, you know, as a hacker, you know, you need to be willing to experiment and play around with this. And I'm just going over the basics. There are so many things in Wireshark I have never even used. I've just never gotten around to using them. And we're just kind of using the basic capturing tools here to look at patterns of traffic and what they look like signatures. This is sort of what an IDS would be looking at or seeing on your network as it sniffs traffic. So it was a very simple ping sweep. Now let's say that we wanted to make it more difficult for an IDS to catch us. Well, we could do that. We could use a decoy. In other words, we could spoof an IP and we'll just craft a packet. We'll kind of tell a fib a little bit. So instead of using our actual IP, we'll insert some made up IP. It could even be another valid IP on the network if we want, and that might make it more difficult for, you know, maybe if an IDS trusted us. Say I wanted to use a DNS server. Well, you know, that's common. I mean, everybody on the network communicates with a local DNS server or the gateway, so that might be a good address to use for a decoy. Or I could just try to find something that's not even being used and maybe use that and, you know, send somebody barking up the wrong tree. But that'll be our next example. Now let's look at the signature for a port scan of a single IP. So again, we'll go ahead and start a new capture. Let's do away with this one. Don't need to save it. And we're going to use our free Nmap tool here. So let's see. Let's try this option. Alright, and we'll do 172.17485, which is a DNS server. We'll see what ports are available on that machine and what we can capture with Wireshark. Okay, and you can see the output that we got over Nmap. Let's see what it looks like in Wireshark. What would an intrusion detection system see, or what, if someone was analyzing traffic and paying attention to traffic on the network, what would that pattern or what would that signature look like? And notice here, notice these are all different. In this case, whereas before it was all ARP and ICMP traffic and different IP addresses, now you have the same IP address being, utilized repetitively. In this case, let's look at the traffic over 5, and a lot of things going back and forth now between 215 my IP and 5, right? And if you look here, look at all this traffic in red here. So that's kind of a warning sign, something to look at. But it's all transmission control protocol traffic, but we want to see the different ports and things that are open. So again, let's open this packet here and look at some of the frame data. And it's IP version 4. And let's just kind of go through. And you can look, there's 33,899, 8,222. We're just looking for different ports. There's POP3, FTP. You see all this traffic going back and forth between the address that I'm port scanning, which is the DNS server 172.174.85, and my IP address. So again, I would be the culprit, or I would be the IP address of interest if we were trying to track down a security risk or a hacker or something like that. That would be fairly obvious to an intrusion detection system that a port scan was going on. So once again, if you need to maybe pause it and kind of look at it, or I'd really like you to install these tools yourself and play with it, hack around with it a little bit, and kind of become familiar with some of what these things look like. Some of these signatures, sort of the telltale sign of a ping sweep or a port scan, just some of the very basic tools and things that might be happening on a network that you would want to know about if you were worried about the security of that network. Again, you can just see, look at all of the ports being tested there. And again, in Nmap, these were the ones that were found to be open, the ones that actually responded. Now we're going to use another tool, and this is a free tool. Google it. It's called Cane Enable. Won't cost you a dime. It's a free download. And we're going to generate some additional traffic and just look at it and see what it looks like in Wireshark. So again, this will be a ping sweep, but this time it'll be more sequential. It's going to be like an enumeration. So just Google for Cane Enable. I've got the latest version downloaded, so I'll go ahead and go through installing it. File is called ca_setup.exe. Now, depending on the version of antivirus software you have, because there are some decryption and password cracking tools and things, it's a security tool. Yes, that means you could use it for bad things, but it's not illegal. You can use it for good things too. But because of the algorithms and the things that are packed into it, some antivirus software may give you a false positive. It may tell you that Cane enables a virus or something, and so you may have to temporarily disable your antivirus software to install it. But you can trust it, as long as you get it from a trustworthy source. A lot of people use this tool, and it's one of the, it's kind of a nice, easy graphical tool in Windows. Okay, so Cane Enable 4.9.40. I think that's the latest version. It may have come out with a new version since then, but just Google for it. It too needs WinPCAP, but I already have WinPCAP installed, which, remember, that's also used by Wireshark, and that's also used by Nmap. And I don't need to install it, and I could reinstall it if I wanted to go through that. It wouldn't hurt anything, but I don't need to. So if you were doing this the first time and this were the first of these tools that you had installed, yes, you need to install WinPCAP either way. But in this case, I don't need it. But you will need WinPCAP to run Nmap, Wireshark, and Kane Enable. Okay, so it's installed, and I'm going to go ahead and open it. And I'll say yes. And notice it's telling me the firewall is enabled. Now, I did the first two, or actually three, with the firewall enabled and my antivirus software enabled to show you what it would look like if I didn't change anything on the computer. But remember, if you're the attacker, or you're trying to, do things, port scans, ping sweeps, things like that, you may need to either open ports or disable your firewall as well as your antivirus software, because that's going to block some of your ability to sniff traffic and to craft packets and things on the network. So I'm just going to say OK on the NAG screen, and I'm going to take its advice. I'm going to go here, and the first thing I'm going to do is kind of drop my shields a little bit. And a safe way to do this would be inside of a virtual machine, or maybe on a computer with deep freeze or something if you're worried about getting attacked while you're attacking. But I don't think that's a what's the likelihood of that? I don't know, but you can just, I'm going to temporarily do it till the computer's restarted. Yes, yes. And I'm just going to kind of open my firewall wide open here. Not recommended. You obviously would never want to do this on an important mission critical machine or a server, but you should have a dedicated machine like an old laptop or something that you just use for things like this, so that you don't really care if something happens, or it's not a big deal. It's not like an important and integral part of your network. So when I shut that down, and now I'll actually be able to do a lot more, because my firewall and my antivirus software won't be blocking some of the activities and things that I would normally be engaged in. And so when you first install Kane Enable, you'll want to go and click on the Configure tab, on the toolbar up there, the Configure option, and notice you can select different adapters. But in this case, the only one bound to an IP address, I'm not interested in those. Those are virtual VMware. But I want my actual physical adapter, the Broadcom Gigabit. And there's my IP, 172.168.215. That's the one I want. And you can choose different options down here. Start sniffer on startup, yada yada yada. You can do ARP cache poisoning. But I don't want to do that. And by the way, be careful, guys. If you're on a network and you do excessive ARP cache poisoning, you can do some damage. You can, kick people off the network, even maybe, crash a router, or, possibly interfere with traffic going to the DNS or gateway. You can do harm, even if you don't mean to. So be careful using this tool. But right now we're just going to turn the sniffer on. And then notice this warning here. You'll get this on a lot of Windows machines. But this is just a command you can run from the command prompt. Netshow and IP set global task offload equals disable. And that's because this is a packet crafting tool. So you need to kind of artificially create packets that do all kinds of things. You can spoof IP addresses and MAC addresses and do really neat things. But you'll probably want to do this first. So to comply with that, all you've got to do one time is open a command prompt and just do what Kane Enable tells you. Alright, so again, it would be netshow, and then our netshow int IP, and set global task offload equals disable. Alright, so in the shell, netshow int IP set global task offload equals disable. And actually, you know what? If you did this, if I do this, I'm going to get an error. But I'm going to go ahead and hit enter just to show you what it would look like. No problem. Just remember that you need to do this as administrator. Run it as administrator. See, watch. Operation requires elevation. Run as administrator. So, whatever. You can type that in, or easy way to do that is if you have a shortcut somewhere to a command prompt. You go over here and just right click and say run as. That's pretty much the same as sudo in Linux. If you're like me and you love Linux a lot, you're used to sudo and su. So pretty much Microsoft's idea of that is this run as administrator, or secondary privileges there, user account control. All of that is their version of that. So again, netshow int IP. Now that I'm running as administrator, and set global task offload equals disable. Task offload equals disable. Alright, so now it's done. It's a done deal. And I'm going to click on OK. Alright, so now I'm sniffing, and I'm also going to be sniffing here. I'm going to be sniffing and sniffing. And then what I'm going to do is with my sniffer, armed with my sniffer in Cane Enable, I'm going to go to click the Network tab, and I'm going to go here, and I'll be able to do a couple of things. Here I'll be able to click on this, and I can read you know, all of the work groups and peer-to-peer and net bias traffic and, you know, Active Directory domains, things like that. And then I can come over here and I can right-click and I can scan MAC addresses. And I'll use ARP, Address Resolution Protocol, Layer 2 and Layer 3 and ICMP, and pretty much generate an enumeration of IPs that respond. So, you know, IP addresses or a ping sweep. So a couple of things here. But before we do that, why don't we go ahead and start up Wireshark again. I'm going to do a new capture, start. I'm going to abandon the old one, don't want to save it, don't care. Could if I wanted to. Leave that running in the background, and now let's go over here. I'm going to double click on Microsoft Windows Network, and I'm going to sip some Diet Mountain Dew, because if you think my voice is boring, just imagine having my voice and having to listen to yourself all day. I put myself to sleep. I have to drink excessive amounts of caffeine just not to fall asleep on myself. Excited! I'll try to get excited here. No, but so notice, you know, criminals, which is our criminal justice department, and DayNet and VGD and workgroup. So these are, if I were to double click on this, I could get a listing of, you know, computers that would respond, and that particular net bias name grouping or work group, you know, peer-to-peer environment. But that's not really going to generate the interesting traffic. What we want to do is an enumeration or a ping sweep. So that'll be the next screen. I'm trying to stall while my Cane Enable takes quite a while to get a response from these machines, but eventually it will. Maybe we'll do a fast forward on this one, right? Save you some time. And it's toiling, and it's toiling. Dry as commercial. Bueller. There you go. Alright, so all that for one whopping PC there in the video game department. Okay, whatever. So let's generate some real interesting traffic. Alright, and we'll do that over here. So first I'm going to stop this capture, and we'll just take a look at that. Alright, and kind of the interesting traffic is going to be 172.17. Gosh, I'm so bad. 215 again. Right, there I am, 172.17.48, 215. And look what's going on over here. And if you are familiar with basic ports, you'll know that 54 is DNS. So I'm trying to do some name resolution there over port 54, Transmission Control Protocol, port 54. And in addition, I'm using net bias. So you'll see like 139, other ports and things going on there. But that's all that was going on there. So I'm going to do yet another capture, start, abandon the old one, leave that running in the background, hop over here onto the sniffer. Let me get rid of all these other things and then those are IPs that were discovered in the last operation. Right click on the background with the sniffer tab selected. I'm going to say scan MAC addresses. I'm going to go here. I don't want to do this because that would take forever. So I'm just going to say 48.1 to, only going to do one. We'll do two subnets here, 48.254. So we'll do all of those, right? And I could do all tests. So I'm going to say OK. And this will definitely create some patterns that would, you know, even a bad IDS would definitely be sounding some alarms right now with what we're doing. Now we'll do some other labs and things with Cane Enable later, and we'll look at maybe ways to maybe slide a few things past an IDS. But this would be pretty obvious. So that's a basic enumeration, you know, kind of a sequential ping sweep, in other words, and it's just returning all of the addresses on the 48 and 49 subnets of this class B address. And also just notice some of the cool features that Cane Enable gives you. You get the MAC address, you get the IP address, you even get the operating system fingerprint or OUI fingerprint, and kind of gives me an idea of the hardware. You know, these guys are printers, and I know, you know, there's the firewall. SonicWall's a firewall. I know that's a computer, IBM Corp. High Precision, I know that's a computer. So you get sort of a fingerprint. That was Matt over there sneezing. And all right, bless you, Matt. And let's go ahead and stop our capture and see how that looks in Wireshark. So, all right, so kind of a basic enumeration. Let's slide up to the top here. And again, what we want to look for is a pattern or a signature of traffic going back and forth, either using layer 2 ARP or layer 3 ICMP, pretty much to build a list of valid IPs or an enumeration. That's what you're looking for as the human, and that's what an IDS would be looking for, using our nice free tool, Wireshark. Okay, so over here, let's do, and then those were our net bias queries, by the way. Remember, we did some of those, that, you know, kind of our peer-to-peer stuff. But let me scroll way up here and look at this. Look at this huge long list here, and oh my gosh, there's enough here to just put me away. If I were really hacking something and doing something naughty, that's, you know, that's just, all roads point to me as the culprit. There's 215. I'm implicating myself all over the place. But let me hop up here, hop up here, hop up here. Up and up and up and up and up and up. There's 48, 48. I'll try to go all the way to the top without going too far. Okay, there we go. There, see, so 9, 9. Now, Cain enable is a little bit smarter. See, what Cain enable doesn't do a straight sequence. So it is trying to get a little bit past, you know, an IDS system. Look, it does 9, and then it does 99. And then it goes down 98, 97, 96. It's all going to 215. Then 94, 93. So it's in the 90s. Then it goes 8, and then 80s. And then down and up, alternating. 8s, then 7s, then so it's kind of randomizing the pattern a little bit to make it more difficult for an IDS, you know, to, you know, hopefully maybe not trigger an alarm. Now, still the telltale sign is it's all pointing to me. But one of the things I could do is I could spoof an IP, right? I could specify a decoy address, and there's several things you can do in Cain enable. Let me pull up Cain enable real quick, and I could come over here and in configure. If I were to go here and for challenge spoofing, let's go here. Yeah, so I use a spoof IP and MAC address. So let's say I could impersonate the DNS server. I can impersonate the gateway. And there's a lot of other things you can do with this, and, you know, ARP cache poisoning, such as like a man in the middle type attack. We'll look at that later when we do maybe some fun practice activities and things with Cain enable. But right now, just be aware that would be another way of trying to make it more difficult for an IDS system to catch the attacker, or hopefully to try to be able to, you know, so not just randomizing this, the destination and the ARP queries and the layer 3 ICMP traffic, but also I would want to maybe change this and use a decoy. And I could just use one address. I could try to impersonate DNS or gateway, which would look maybe like it was supposed to. You know, there's always a lot of traffic going on between everybody on the network and the local DNS or the gateway. But another thing I could do is I could spoof a different IP address. So like do a couple of ARP queries or some ICMP pings, and then change to another, you know, spoof another IP, and then spoof another IP, and spoof another IP, and spoof another MAC, and spoof another MAC, and spoof another MAC. And so if you're randomizing this and you're randomizing this, both these columns, you can make it more difficult for an IDS to detect.